in consokosum. We are linked in both life and death. Those who share common blood relations never break apart. And it's a symbol of human relations to the Akan people of West Africa, mainly in Ghana, some in Cameroon. And this symbol, to me, represents Bernardine's reason for writing this book, because it's a symbol of human relations. Because even though some of these people, some of these women are not, well, there's lots of men in there, so the people, they're not blood relations, they're still of the same spirit, kind of a thing. So yeah. As I said, the first couple of chapters, it was like, oh, this woman was in my life back in the day, because it sounds like me and the way that I was living my life at the time, and going on and just reading. So, I mean, there's so much that resonates with me personally, and with friends that I know, family, that kind of a thing. So yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased.
Oh, I'm so glad. And this is a great place to segue into introducing ourselves. So just to welcome everyone to our first Ampersand book talk. We're gonna call this Ampersand Talks Books. It's the inaugural video series with Almeta Whitis here, and we're going to be talking about Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, and it won the 2019 Booker Prize.
And she won it. I don't think anyone could have done any better. My name is Almeta Whitis. I am, this lifetime around, I came as the artist, the teacher, and the priestess. And it's not religious. It's my spiritual thing about being connected. We are all connected. We are all part of this one beautiful moment of creation that never started and never ends. I'm loving it. And what I want to start off with is and I've been doing things with Writers and Books since they first opened, and I have been affiliated with the Summer Write program ever since I moved back here from Phoenix, 2008. So I've been working in Summer Write, teaching classes for young people, creative writing. I do theater, I combine culture and history, the sciences, philosophy, all kinds of things. I can come on with anything, and the kids, the young people, kids are baby goats. The young people really like it.
So I'd love to talk about the form of the book.
Yes.
This is not, I mean, it says it's a novel on the cover, but it is not your typical novel. It's really quite fluid, which is just, and it does that in a number of ways. One of which is the fact that it's written in verse.
Yes.
There are very few periods. When there are, it's used with purpose, punctuation in general. What was your experience reading that? Opening the book and finding the words, just kind of
well, as a storyteller, it was like I was talking.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. Like people were just talking and telling story, and not fictional, but revealing what's close and near. Oh, okay, I thought the rain was coming. Okay, because my window's open. Sorry. and I didn't notice that there were no periods. I was so into the story as it was unwinding and seeing how things would flip around and come back. After someone had been out of the picture for a chapter or two, they would re-emerge. It's as though it's like when you're close with someone and you get separated for whatever reason, and then you come back together again, but it's as though that time never never got in the way, that you're still right there where you were and are as friends, as sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like being in a family almost.
Exactly.
Like being at a family gathering, having people like come in and out the doors, and you get to know everyone, each of these characters really intimately.
Thank you.
Which is just really unique for a book like this.
Yes.
A lot of times a book only focuses on a few characters, and I don't know, I just love this. It really felt like I like how you said it was like someone talking, because it was like someone talking. It's like reading an oral history.
Yeah, and when you talked about this family, it's hard for Americans to really understand the concept of family as it exists in other parts of the world, because your family in many cases is more than blood.
Yeah.
It's the people who live in your village or in your block in a town. For instance, thank you, Spirit. The favelas in Brazil, in the large cities of Brazil. I mean, the favelas, though, that's family. Adept at presenting who they are in a way where you can't judge them.
Yeah.
If you do, I feel sorry for you. You can't judge them. You simply have to accept them for who they are and what they bring to the table, to humanity's table.
Yeah, and I think going back to what you're talking about with a lot of Americans not being able to understand this kind of concept of community as family.
Yes.
Is that like that's really prevalent in queer communities as well.
Definitely.
That kind of creation of like your own family, creating family with your friends and lovers, and really creating it for yourself.
Yes.
And not having it depend on blood. And I think like what you're talking about with Morgan, them and their partner Bibi.
Yes. Hold on. Bibi. Yes.
Yeah. So Morgan and Bibi, the idea that's kind of sparked by Hattie's suggestion that they own the farm, and then create, like, use it as a space to have like a queer community, build a queer community on this land.
Yes.
And so I think that's kind of what you're trying to get at earlier with their creation of that group.
Exactly. And also the opening chapters with Amma.
Yeah.
With her pulling together this wonderful, diverse community from disparate elements, and they all have pretty much the fact that they love the arts.
Yeah.
They are definitely theater people, and in some kind of creative way of navigating the world. And she's created this wonderful space. There's also with Dominique, aka Sojourner, and Nzinga, in that womanist space that they were living in. And then in that chapter, it talks about other womanist spaces that Nzinga had managed to get herself kicked out of. And then after Dominique fled for her life, Nzinga ingratiated herself in other womanist communities and badmouthed Dominique. Meanwhile, Dominique, in declaring her own personal emancipation proclamation, what takes about 3 years to come to her senses, to heal, and then she ends up being a Brit transplant to California, I think it's Southern California, and creates this wonderful community of women and artists.
Yeah, and I thought that was so interesting too. The fact that Bernardine created this like womanist space and kind of talking about that like segregation of genders, and then having it be a negative experience. I mean, she goes on to talk about how Dominique kind of seeks out those kinds of spaces later in life, but we really get like the granules of her experience in a womanist space only within that toxic relationship, which I thought was kind of an interesting choice.
Not really. No, not really.
Well,
No. I don't think. Because it's in the very beginning when she and Amma, they meet and in school or whatever. What was it? The Ethiopian Wasi, W-A-S-I, I think. Wasi and Dominique and Amma, they were like the three musketeers. And when they matured and went out on their own, they created a womanist community. It just wasn't on a space of land. It was an urban kind of a thing. And Amma was always, especially in her first business, she had a big enough space so that people could come and live if they needed to. I mean, the book has seeds of safe spaces for women who do not necessarily identify as feminine or a woman tied to a man. They can have kids, but they're not tied to a man. And it's like Bernardine is showing the different ideations, if I'm using the word correctly, of how women can come together in spaces to support one another and not have to be defined by their marital status to a man and or their having children. They could have them or not, and if they did, those children had a whole lot of mothers, and of the men who were connected mainly by their personality and sexual orientation, and mostly their creative mindset. These were men that they trusted to be able to be babysitters, godfathers, so on and so forth. So Bernardine, she by about page 75, wait a minute, is that Dominique? Yeah, that's when Dominique comes in. But by page 100, let's say, we know that there's already been this little drop of there's something going on here about lifestyle.
Yeah, there is. And it's about autonomy too. Like
exactly.
Creating your own space, like creating your own, like
yes.
not feeling beholden to the system as it is.
Exactly. An underlying current of fear. Almost every chapter, there's something that's fearful, and she doesn't hit you over the head with it. It's only when I get near the end where it's like, oh, this has to do with how do we deal with the fear. Number one, the fear of being perceived as different, simply based on your physical characteristics. And then all these other fears of the other are revealed. And so as we start with breadcrumbs and go into a loaf, there's also this undressing, like there are layers of the veils of Salome or Salome coming off with her revealing dance. Well, Bernardine does this with this revealing, and there's Amma in the beginning, and then there's Amma when she goes to rescue Dominique, and then there's Amma later on with grandchildren, and it's just, I can't recommend this book enough to anyone. And it is definitely, I don't know how to use the term, because it's a fast read, it's an easy read, but it's not fast and easy at the same time.
Yeah. The verse just pulls you along. It just flows so easily. The fluidity of the language really carries you through the book quickly. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack. There's the themes of the book are harder than maybe the
text itself.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, the text is easy. And it's only, about halfway through, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that was connected, and that was connected, and that was connected. And as I've gotten further along, the connections stand out even more. And what I love about it, maybe it's just me, because I'm kind of crazy, it doesn't hit you over the head.
Yeah.
On page 341, where Hattie is talking about, she's 93 and she's looking at her descendants. There are 2 children, both in their 70s, Ada Mae and Sonny. And then there's the grandchildren, their 40s and 50s, and then a few great-grandchildren in their 20s and 30s. God knows what most of them do, because she knows what everybody does up to that point. And then the great-great-grandchildren are the separate tables. She can't remember any of their names. And then there's the newly borns, Riley, Zoe, and Noah, which are great-great-great-grandchildren. And I said she'll remember their names for a few hours, and I can relate. I can relate. And just showing how all of her children married white. They married white, and the one that married a mixed race looked white. Yeah. And it's I think a harbinger of the decolorization of the people of the world, because white is considered the best. From the European standpoint, white skin is the best and everyone else is inferior. So when, especially now here in America, as I'm out shopping, I see so many white grandparents with their very obviously have black grandchildren. And a friend of mine was saying that another friend of hers, a white woman who married a black man, they had 2 girls. One looked very white, the other one looked very black. And when the parents started having fuss, knowing they were going to break up, the 2 little girls who were about 7 or 9, the one that looked white said, well, you're going to go live with Daddy, because you're black, that you're blacker, you're darker, and I'm going to live with Mommy because I'm white. And her sister says, you're half black. No, I look white, I am white, and you're black. You look black like Daddy. And so you're gonna be with Daddy because you're not as good as we are. It's like, damn, this little girl grew up, and this is, hello.
And they're in the same family. That's so interesting.
They're the same blood. They're the same blood.
Yeah. And
however the help me with the word. The system. No, it's not the system. The culture. No, it's not the culture. It's the people. It's I can't remember
white
the
supremacy at work.
You say, huh?
It's white supremacy at work.
Exactly. Yeah.
For a child to have that kind of perspective.
Yes, and she got it not from the home. She got it from being outside of the home and having the dominant thinking imposed upon her, and the dominant thinking letting her know, oh, you're so sweet, you're so cute, you're so beautiful. I decided to fight with words, books, and ideas, and use them to open up people's mind to the fact that we're all connected, and that in essence we're all family. And there are beautiful branches. There's a wonderful poem, "We are all part of the self-same tree. The bark and the limbs are all akin, and the leaves expressive of something within. The roots deep down in the good brown earth bring forth their little or their great worth. Blood of one red blood are we that flows like sap from the self-same tree, like the fountain of life, superb and free. All people are a branch of the mother tree that loves and nurtures humanity." It's one of my favorite poems.
I love that.
Thank you. I wish I could remember who wrote it. I think it was Mari Evans, but don't get me to lying.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me about this book. It really is exactly what you were just talking about. It really does show how interconnected we are. Yeah, and really lends the humanity to its characters.
Exactly, and it's something that that anyone would enjoy. Anybody who has a brain. So maybe the scarecrow wouldn't appreciate it, but anyone who has a brain can learn from this. And if any of you are wondering what in the world is going on, I don't even know how to talk with people anymore, why they want to be called them and their, and I don't understand. This book does a wonderful job of doing an overview as to how and why to navigate that space. And so this whole thing about everybody has to be either a male or a female, it's not the way of the world.
No.
And it's going the way of the dinosaur. These young people are making it go the way of the dinosaur. And I appreciate them because they're simply being honest and authentic. That's another Adinkra symbol, NSAA. Nsa means genuineness and authenticity, which is definitely what she's done with this book. That if I would pick an Adinkra symbol for the whole book, it would be Nsa, genuineness and authenticity.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. I'm so glad you were able to sit down with me and talk about this book.
Me too. I'm happy that you asked me. I couldn't imagine why. Now that I read it, I'm egotistical enough to say, of course, she had to pick me.
That's how it feels. It feels like it was meant to be.
Yes, thank you so much.